This video provides an overview and startup instruction for the Conquest 130-gallon series water heaters with the new EOS electronic operating system. This training covers Conquest non-modulating models with inputs of 399 to 800,000 BTU per hour. The video content includes required tools and instruments, pre-startup checklist, the startup process, burner combustion adjustment, how to change the operating set point, adjusting the potentiometer for standalone operation, and the Conquest startup report. Detailed installation guidelines are included in the Conquest Installation and Maintenance Manual PV 500-71 furnished with the product or at our website pvi.com. The following tools and instruments are required to start up the Conquest water heater. You will need flattened Phillips head screwdrivers, an adjustable wrench, 3/16 inch and 7/32 inch Allen wrenches, a 6-foot step ladder, 2 U-tube manometers or pressure gauges that are capable of reading both positive and negative pressure, a stack draft gauge, an electronic combustion analyzer, a digital multimeter, and 2 1/8 inch NPT pilot shutoff test valves. If you don't have or don't know how to properly use these tools and instruments, do not attempt startup. Refer startup to a qualified technician. Important: before starting the water heater, ensure that the unit is installed properly and completely. If your unit is not installed properly, do not attempt startup. Contact your installer immediately. Before starting the unit, you will need to check for adequate electrical service, confirm if any external control wiring connections exist, confirm the tank is filled with water, check all tank connections for leaks, and ensure the condensate trap is installed properly and that the gas supply meets the product rating decal requirements. We will briefly review each area in detail. Start by checking the electrical service. The standard electrical service required is a 120 volt single phase 60 Hz 11 amp power supply that is also electrically grounded. See the appliance rating decal on the front of the unit for the electrical service requirements for your specific product. Next, shut off the electrical service to the unit and turn the water heater power switch to the off position. Remove the panel screws to lower the hinged upper control enclosure panel. Locate the document packet containing the control circuit fuse and fuse cap. A wiring diagram is also attached to the back of the front panel. Remove the fuse and fuse cap from the packet and install them into the fuse holder on the front of the panel. Check the back of the digital control display board on the hinge panel to see if a 2-wire RS-485 communication cable is connected. These wires must be removed to isolate the water heater from the building automation system during startup. Remember to reconnect the communication cable to the digital control display board after startup is complete. Visually check that all components are intact and no damage has occurred during transit and installation. Also check to ensure all wiring connections within the control cabinet are tight. A loose connection could cause sporadic shutdowns and malfunctions. Now close the hinged upper control enclosure panel and secure the panel screws. Now remove the panel screws on the hinged bottom control enclosure panel. Check to see if terminals R1 and R2 are jumped. If they are, nothing more needs to be done. If the terminals are not jumped but have wires connected to them, this indicates that a remote on-off relay is controlling the water heater from the building automation system. These wires must be removed prior to startup and the terminals must be jumped. Remember to remove the jumper and reconnect the remote controlling wires after startup is complete. Once again, visually check to ensure that the components are intact in this area and that all wire connections are tight. Now close the hinged bottom control enclosure cover and secure the panel screws. You can now confirm the tank is filled with water. Important: using the T&P relief valve alone to vent the tank will not allow the tank to completely fill. Open a nearby hot water faucet to allow trapped air to escape from the piping. A steady flow observed from a hot water faucet indicates the tank is full. You can now close the hot water faucet. With the tank filled, Check the tank flanges and pipe thread connections to ensure they are watertight and tighten as necessary to avoid leaks that will damage the tank insulation. The 130-gallon Conquest models contain 3 bolt-on bronze tank flanges sealed by an O-ring gasket. If required, retighten the leaking bolt-on flange to a maximum torque of 11 foot-pounds. 2 of these removable tank flanges are located on top of the tank. One is connected to the tank circulating pump, and another is at the safety limit probe location. The third removable flange is located at the front of the tank beneath the control enclosure for the operating control probe. A removable adhesive decal covers the jacket opening at this flange location. The other tank connections are located at the hot water outlet, the cold water inlet, the T&P relief valve, the building return, and the drain valve. A condensate trap assembly ships with the unit and must be installed on the condensate drain to prevent flue gases from escaping and creating a hazardous condition in the installed space. The condensate drain is located at the bottom rear of the water heater near the flue outlet. Connect the condensate trap assembly to the PVC fitting on the condensate drain pipe. Then rotate the trap so that it contacts the floor. Connect 1/2 inch ID clear vinyl tubing ready for 170 degrees or higher, or an optional condensate neutralization system, to the barbed hose connection at the end of the condensate trap. See the Conquest installation and maintenance manual for additional details on installing the condensate trap, drain line, or condensate neutralization system. Confirm the gas type supplied matches the rating label requirement on the front of the water heater. The Conquest water heater will require either natural or propane gas. If the available gas type is not correct, your unit will require a conversion. Contact the factory for instructions for converting to or from natural or propane gas. Warning: if you smell gas, do not try to light any appliance. Do not try to touch any electrical switch or use a phone in your building. Immediately call your gas supplier and follow their instructions. For natural gas, the maximum inlet static gas pressure must not exceed 14 inches water column and must not drop below 3 1/2 inches water column during operation. For propane gas, the maximum inlet static pressure must not exceed 13 inches water column and must not drop below 8 inches water column during operation. To check the supply gas pressure, first shut off the main gas supply to the water heater. Remove the cover plate at the top of the water heater to access the burner and gas train components. Ensure that both the manual gas valve at the burner and the manual gas valve at the inlet of the gas train is closed. Attach a 1/8 inch MPT polished shutoff test valve and tube to the test port on the manual shutoff gas valve at the inlet of the gas train. Attach a second 1/8 inch MPT polished shutoff test valve and tube to the manual shutoff gas valve downstream of the gas train at the burner. Close both test valves. Attach U-tube manometers or gas pressure gauges to both of the polished shutoff test valves. Open the main gas supply to the water heater and check for gas leaks on all joints upstream of the manual shutoff valve at the inlet of the gas train. Now open the 1/8 inch polished shutoff test valve at the inlet of the gas train and measure the supply gas pressure. Important: if the supply gas pressure is outside of the allowable range, notify the building maintenance personnel or installer to reduce the gas pressure to the water heater. Now open the manual gas shutoff valve at the inlet of the gas train and check the gas train for leaks using a soap solution. If any bubbles are detected, close the manual gas valve, tighten the leaking connection, then open the manual gas shutoff valve again and check for leaks. Now open the 1/8 inch polished shutoff test valve connected to the manual shutoff gas valve downstream of the gas train closest to the burner, and note the gas pressure measured by the manometer. Check the gas pressure again after about 15 minutes. A gas pressure increase of 1/2 inch water column or more indicates one of the gas solenoid valves is leaking by. Isolate and replace the leaking gas valve. We will now review the startup process. These instructions should be followed in exact order to achieve safe and efficient operation of the product. Detailed startup instructions are included in the Conquest Installation and Maintenance Manual PV 500-71. Begin by turning the Conquest power switch to the off position. Drill a small test hole in the flue vent approximately 2 feet from the vent connection. Insert the combustion analyzer probe into the vent test hole. We will now simulate a safety shutoff ignition fail test of the EOS control system. With the manual gas valve at the burner closed, turn the electrical service to the water heater on, and then turn the Conquest power switch to the on position. The EOS temperature control touchscreen will energize. If the tank temperature is 5 degrees or more below the factory set point of 120 degrees, the call for heat sequence will initiate. With no gas pressure, the ignition control will attempt to ignite the burner 3 times before proceeding to a safety shutoff. Following the third failed attempt, the display screen immediately shows a lockout condition has occurred. In a few seconds, an error code flashes in the status field, and a flame fail alarm message is displayed, followed by the troubleshooting message, Ignition Trial Fail, which scrolls across the top of the screen. Important: before restarting the unit, ensure there is a way for the system to dissipate heat. This can be accomplished by opening one or more nearby hot water faucets. Now open the manual shutoff gas valve at the burner. Then push and release the main reset button on the front panel of the water heater to recover from the lockout condition. If all control interlocks and safeties are satisfied, the control will automatically reset and attempt to start a new heating cycle. When the call for heat sequence begins, the burner blower is energized. The status field of the display screen shows that the air switch is waiting to be closed by air pressure generated by the blower. When the air switch closes, the ignition pre-purge sequence and hot surface igniter heat-up period begins. The blower message is displayed during the pre-purge period. Following the pre-purge and hot surface igniter heat-up countdown of about 36 seconds, a 4-second trial for ignition period is initiated. During this sequence, the screen displays ignition while the gas valves are being energized. When ignition occurs and flame is proven, the status field shows the burner is firing and the flame current is displayed in microamps for about 8 seconds. As the burner fires, the modulating firing rate percentage displayed at the bottom of the screen will increase and then decrease as the unit reaches its set point temperature of 120 degrees. Disregard this display for inputs with on-off burner control systems. The control temperature sensed at the top of the tank will continue to display throughout the burner run cycle and after shutdown when the unit returns to a satisfied and idle state. Warning: if at any point carbon monoxide is in excess of 200 parts per million, contact PVI Customer Care for assistance. With the burner firing, now measure the flow gas pressure at the beginning of the gas train. If the inlet flow gas pressure for natural gas is equal to or greater than 3.5 inches water column, or if the inlet flow gas pressure for propane gas is equal to or greater than 8 inches water column, continue with the startup. If the inlet flow gas pressure drops below these minimum requirements, a supply gas volume or piping problem may exist and must be corrected before the startup can continue. Next, with the burner firing, monitor the combustion analyzer readings. The desired carbon dioxide level, CO2, in the combustion products must be between 8.5% and 9.5% for natural gas and between 9.5% and 10.5% for propane gas. If the CO2 level is in this range, no adjustment is required or recommended. If the CO2 level is outside of these ranges, the combustion must be optimized. The Conquest Model 40 uses an on-off burner control system with a combination gas regulator and gas valve. If the CO2 level must be adjusted on this model, turn the slotted brass gas valve orifice screw counterclockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2, or clockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2. Note: do not adjust combustion based on manifold gas pressure alone. Manifold gas pressure should only be used as a reference point if required. No regulator adjustment should be necessary on this Conquest model. Conquest models 50 through 80 uses a modulating burner control system with a larger gas regulator and separate safety solenoid gas valves. The CO2 levels on these models must be adjusted at both low fire and high fire. The firing rate adjustment is done in the manual override menu accessed through the EOS touchscreen digital control. To access the manual override menu, press and hold the home button for 3 seconds. Touch the next item or item back buttons to navigate to the toolbox menu. Touch the enter button to display the access screen. Now use the up or down arrow buttons to select the advanced setting. Exit the menu by pressing the home button. Use the next item or item back buttons to navigate to the override menu. Touch the enter button to display the manual override screen and use up or down arrow buttons to select the hand setting. Use the next item or item back buttons to navigate to the heater modulation menu. This setting will override the operating control, and using the up or down arrow buttons force the burner to fire at a selected firing rate. Note: if the heater modulating program is activated while the burner is firing, the burner will shut down and recycle. Now, using the up or down arrow buttons, adjust the firing rate from off to the minimum firing rate of 1% for low fire. With the burner firing rate stabilized at low fire, adjust the gas regulator screw clockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2, or counterclockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2. Once the desired combustion levels are achieved at low fire, return to the touchscreen and increase the heater modulating firing rate to the maximum high fire firing rate setting allowed for the specific product. Note: the maximum factory set high fire firing rate may not be 100%. With the burner firing rate now stabilized at high fire, first loosen the set screw on the side of the shutter valve body and turn the gas valve orifice adjustment screw clockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2, or counterclockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2. Be sure to tighten the set screw on the valve body when adjustments are complete. Once the desired combustion is reached at high fire, return to low fire to confirm the settings again. When all combustion adjustments are complete, go back to the manual override screen and return the function back to the auto setting. Warning: when adjustments are complete and before putting the water heater into service, return the manual override function back to auto. Failure to return the manual override function to auto can cause high water temperatures that can result in property damage, scalding, other serious injury, or death. With the combustion properly adjusted, now use the test hole in the flue vent to measure the vent pressure. With the burner firing, confirm the vent pressure does not exceed 1/2 inches water column. Pressure in excess of 1/2 inch water column indicates a vent sizing issue that must be addressed by the installer before operating the water heater. If a different stored water temperature is desired, the factory set point of 120 degrees can be changed as follows. From the View menu, press and hold the Home button for 3 seconds to enter the Control System menu. The first menu displayed is the Setup menu. Touch the Enter button to display the Set Point menu. Use the up and down arrow buttons to change the set point value. To save the new value, touch the Next Item or Item Back buttons or exit the menu by pressing the Home button. The PIM ignition control will continue to operate the Conquest water heater at a 120-degree internal set point should the touchscreen control fail or communication between the two devices is interrupted. This internal set point can be adjusted using the potentiometer to maintain a different operating temperature under these circumstances if desired. To adjust the PIM potentiometer set point, from the View menu, press and hold the Home button for 3 seconds to display the Setup menu. Using the Next Item or Item Back buttons, navigate to the Toolbox menu, then touch the Enter button to display the access screen. Now use the up or down arrow buttons to select the installer setting. Touch the Home button to return to the Toolbox menu. Then use the Next Item or Item Back buttons to navigate to the Source menu. Touch Enter to enter the Source menu and use the Next Item or Item Back buttons to navigate to the operator screen to display the potentiometer set point. Open the hinged upper panel of the control enclosure and locate the potentiometer on the PIM ignition module. Using a small blade screwdriver, manually adjust the potentiometer to a desired standalone temperature set point as you review the adjusted temperature setting in the operator screen. Exit the menu by pressing the Home button. The last step to complete the Conquest startup process is to return to the Access menu in the Toolbox screen and select the user level. Your Conquest startup is now complete. You should now enable or reconnect any building automation system control wiring that was disconnected or disabled prior to startup. The startup report furnished with this water heater must be completed and sent to the manufacturer to register the installation address and the start date of the product warranty. The information on the startup report is required. All voltages, fuel, pressure, temperature, and combustion parameters must conform to the manufacturer's specification. Warning: failure to ensure and document that the equipment is operating in a safe and reliable manner may cause property damage, personal injury, or death. For additional product information and assistance, please visit our website at pvi.com or contact PVI Technical Support at 1-800-433-5654.